Welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette, featuring sysadmin expert Don Pizzette, security specialist Daniel Lowry, and Peter.
Hello and welcome to Technado with Don Pizzette. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, and I'm once again, I've been stood up by Don Pizzette, but don't worry, we actually replaced Wes as well as our backup, and we have Chris Ward joining us all the way from Prescott, Arizona. Chris, how you doing?
You know, it's always good to be with you guys, and I'm having a little bit of a ego issue here because you go from Don to Wes, which I understand,
Sure.
but I understand you actually had other options. So actually, I feel better about this, actually. So
I
thanks.
wasn't told about these other options, but
No one said anything to me.
yeah, I didn't hear about that. But
Oh, right.
yeah, but your head is huge on the video, so I think that shows that you have no issues with your ego whatsoever. And also, a man who has no issues with his ego is Daniel Lowry. Daniel, how are you doing today?
I am strong and fit. And my captors are treating me well.
Very good. Congratulations on that. And we are also joined today by our special guest, who is Randy Shore. He's the VP of Delivery and Support over at cloudtamer.io. Randy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. I got to say that your background looks like that clean and modern background that is like embedded into Zoom as one of the backgrounds that you can use automatically. But that's real.
I will.
Is that real?
Yeah, I will. I will inform my wife that
Okay.
her interior design skills have made it to a Zoom background.
Yeah.
For sure.
Send that picture over to Bill Gates. He'll put it in Teams.
That's like saying she
Perfect.
makes art for hotels. You know?
She actually works in hotels, so maybe there's
Okay,
a connection.
She's been
there. There you go.
inspired.
Your background is so generic that it
Secret's
could
out
work
now.
for
Yeah.
anybody. No, that's fantastic. Well, we want to learn more about your actual background in terms of like your life and stuff. So let's go ahead and jump in with our first segment, which is rapid fire questions.
Who do you work for?
What's new?
Who are you?
What's happening?
What's wrong with you?
All right, Randy, in this segment, we'll put 5 minutes on the clock. We'll go around the room and we will ask you different questions, get to know you a little bit. If you go ahead and run too long, we will buzz you, though we rarely do that. But it's happened for those that just go on and
For the
on. So,
challenge.
yeah, why not? So let's go ahead and I'll jump in with our first question. So I just want to know a little bit more about CloudTamer. So can you kind of give us the elevator pitch there?
Yeah, absolutely. So CloudTamer is a software platform designed really to bring cloud governance and cloud management together. And so really where that's focused is in three main areas. So is focused around automation and orchestration within your sort of public cloud environment, so AWS, Azure, and Google, identity and access, and financial management as well. So we have a number of customers across the federal and commercial space here, and we've been around for just over 3 years now.
Very cool. And so we talked about, obviously I heard the word governance in there, and anytime you start talking about governance and then you're working with customers, sometimes that can be a little crazy. And according to what I understand, you're the voice of the customer. So what do you do as the VP there at CloudTamer?
Yeah, so my role is really both heavily external focused. So I, work with all of our prospective customers throughout the pre-sale side, all the way through, their sort of whole customer journey, ensuring that they're successful on our platform. So sort of the traditional customer success side, but it's also my role to work internally with our engineering side, sort of with that product manager hat, if you will, talking about, ways in which I think our product could be better and help, with some of the objection side that happens on the pre-sales, objection handling, all the way through to, I know big initiatives that a lot of our customers are working on. And, really one of the core mission of CloudTamer is to, quote, make customers' lives easier in the cloud. So really, what I'm doing is taking what customers are saying and bringing that back to get to an easier life.
Well, sounds like a likely story, Randy. No, no, I am the, I like security. Security's a fun thing. And when you start talking about governance and compliance, a lot of times there are security aspects to that. And of course, continuing on that line of thoughts, the joke is always, hey, we're compliant, therefore we're secure. Is there any, that's obviously not the case. Just because your compliance doesn't necessarily mean you're actually secure. What does Cloud Tamer do, or does it do anything, honestly, to help address that situation, to say, oh yeah, okay, we're helping you check the boxes, but we're also trying to help you actually be secure?
Yeah. So that's actually, one of the biggest benefits that we bring to the market is in our security and compliance function, what we call is continuous compliance. So Cloud Tamer has this whole sort of side around preventative controls. So putting a lot of those, governance or guardrails in place to ensure that an account is compliant before anybody's ever even logged into it, right? So Cloud Tamer, again, why we're in the market with all of these different sort of pillars or foundations of what we do is that we think that every pillar is sort of stronger when working with another, right? So from a security and compliance with our automation orchestration, we can sort of vend out or create a brand new account, put in those preventative controls, which checks those initial boxes. Where we then go above and beyond, though, is through, again, that continuous compliance. So the ability to continuously monitor and scan in real time to ensure that, in fact, those preventative controls or those boxes are still checked. And if not, bring those back as a remediation or as a finding that can then be used for auto remediation or manual remediation to really ensure that it's not a set it and forget it, but there's some watchful eye out there at all times.
So we've been kind of just using the word cloud in general. I know in the first answer you mentioned AWS, Google Cloud, and Azure. Are those the three that you mainly focus on? Or do you focus on all those, or do you go beyond to like the rack spaces and kind of the smaller groups down there?
Yep. Yeah. So for now, we follow sort of the big three. But of course, our headquarters is located just outside of the DC metro area. And so we have a lot of federal customers. So in addition to sort of the commercial areas of, AWS, Azure, and Google, we also have extensive support into like AWS GovCloud, Microsoft Azure for Gov or MAG, as well as even the AWS top secret and secret environments. So each of those are like supporting their own cloud providers, but right now focused on sort of the big three at this point.
Cool. Well, I looked down your LinkedIn a little bit. It looks like you guys are hiring or have been hiring in the last few weeks for a lot of different positions. So where are you guys in terms of the growth of your company right now?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, we're a little bit over 3 years old. We just actually had our birthday at the beginning of the month here. And we are on a hiring spree. We have had extensive growth recently, and we're projecting a lot more upcoming. And so definitely a good plug. We have a lot of open positions across all areas of the organization, from, we'll call it entry level, right? Support engineers, all the way through to developers, DevOps, on the marketing side, product marketing directors. Today we're about 50 employees, and actually, COVID was an interesting time for our company, but brought us to a remote first company now. So now we've been fortunate enough to hire amazing talent across the whole country, and we're sort of continuing on that growth here in the near term.
Maybe that's where Don is.
he's been hired.
Don got a job, and he's working remotely.
That's how we got selected for.
That's how you got on Technado.
It's like spotting Bigfoot walking in the background.
You see Don just with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Oh crap!
Yeah.
In that case, we'll have to change the name of the podcast, but that's fine. Well, we want to, while we have you here, get a little bit of your insight on kind of your area of expertise. So let's move on to our next segment, which is Buzzword Breakdown.
Success.
Virus.
Server.
Pop 3.
Password.
Cyber bullying.
Say what?
All right, none of those buzzwords that were in that intro, but the buzzword we're talking about today, something Chris mentioned a little bit earlier, governance. So we just want to talk about, what it is exactly. Is it as boring as it seems, and that kind of thing? So, Chris, why don't we start with you and let you kind of lead us in here? But what are the things you want to know? Because you're our governance expert.
Yeah, I know. The thing that I always looked at, in fact, one of the words that came out of there was cyberbullying. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times people look at governance and that's what they think, right? It's like, oh, the bosses, they're going to tell me what to do. But listening to what you were talking about there, I was just kind of curious. There's kind of like stages that companies come into governance sometimes. You got the evaluation, then you direct and you put governance in place, and then you're constantly monitoring. But it sounds like to me, Randy, that from Cloud Tamer's perspective, that you guys kind of come in and help in all of the areas, and your automation kind of helps you with that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think, traditionally governance is seen as something that's not sexy by any means. It's often seen as sort of a disabler, right? Something that, after you go through a period of, let's say, innovation, you end up in maybe this wild, wild west of, all kinds of workloads across all these clouds, and you lose control. And the way you get control is to, govern. We like to think of it a little bit differently. We like to think of it as really an enabler, right? When you are giving when you're giving somebody access to a cloud account, or you're handing over them, hey, here's a new AWS account. Essentially, right, you've given the keys to the world's most powerful data center to somebody that can easily bankrupt your company or get you on the front page of the Washington Post or something if the security and configuration isn't done correctly. And so we work with customers that we're sort of wrangling in, right? We're taming the cloud, if you will. But we also work with a number of customers that realize that when you want to grow, right, you need to have like a set process in place. And if you put a lot of those preventative guardrails in, governance isn't something that gets in the way. It enables people to move sort of further and faster, right? You've given them unfettered access to the cloud, knowing that your finance, your security, your business folks are all of their needs are met, right? You're not going to spend $1 million. You're not going to stand up instances that cost $5 an hour to run or whatever it might be. And so that's where we think that moving governance sooner in your cloud growth can turn it from this sort of not sexy thing to really something that pushes you to move ahead.
Yeah, we're talking about things like, asset deployment. You're talking about security that, obviously Daniel's really concerned of, systems interaction. I mean, is there an end to this? I mean, where have you, in your experience, seen where, we've achieved, I don't want to say perfection, but we're at that level where we can kind of sit back? Or is this something that everybody constantly has to be on the edge of their seat with?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that there's nothing in the cloud that's stagnant, right? Even if you built a perfect governance posture today, AWS is, for example, is having, a conference at the end of the year. They're going to release a ton of new services that you didn't even know you needed to govern or understand. That it was even a concern, right? So I don't think that governance is ever done, right? So there's just ways that you can make it easier, more manageable, if you will, right? So one of the examples is in how we often recommend things from sort of a cloud team or delivery side of the house, right? Is like when you're putting in these guardrails and you have approved services to be used in production, for example, writing your policies in a way that sort of default deny new services that are coming out. And only allowing specific ones, for example. That's just like a really easy way to ensure that, when new services launch at let's say reInvent, right, you're not scrambling to figure out, okay, what do these things do? How do I do them? I think in dev, right, you absolutely should let your developers sort of innovate, sort of use these new services. But in something like prod or somewhere next to your corporate data or wherever it may be, your crown jewels, that's where you want to be a little bit more careful. And so governance never ends, but I think that there are a number of ways to make it easier to deal with. And again, when it's not seen as something that is the land of no, right, that anytime somebody asks, can I use this, you say no. When it's seen as a way to help give confidence in a cloud migration, I again think that it's really become sort of that enabler to an organization.
Daniel, I think you'd be fine though if there was a case where everyone always said no. From a security perspective,
I'm pretty good with no. Like no, stop, turn it off. Hit it with a stick, set it on fire.
Yeah, no's the default answer, and then you come to me with a reason that
he likes the cyberbullying. He likes the cyberbullying.
Oh, I rule the servers with an iron fist.
Yeah,
it is kind of funny though. You talk about everybody saying no all the time. I've always found like the consternation for me when it comes to governments is just the red tape. It's not that you're not telling me I can't do something. It's that I have this convoluted process that I have to go through to make that something happen. That's where I get a little like, oh, governance, But I understand the importance of it. I understand the necessity behind it. Doesn't mean I have to like it, though.
Yeah, and that's certainly something that we've tried to account for in terms of like delegation and things to help sort of share that red tape out.
Very cool. Well, hey, you mentioned a couple things coming up with AWS in the future, and that's actually a great segue to our next segment here. We want to talk about what's coming up for you guys. And I know you're attending a couple of the AWS things going on. You've got the reInvent and then one of the summits as well. Are you guys having a booth there or speaking, or what's going on with that?
Yeah, so it'll be interesting. We've had the last time we were able to do a show in person was, I guess, February of 2020 before the world shut down. And so yeah, we're really excited to actually have sort of booths and see people in face to face again. So upcoming in actually next week in Washington D.C. is AWS's Public Sector Summit. That's for obviously government focused, education, et cetera. And we will be having a booth there. And then even more exciting than that is the larger AWS conference reInvent in the first week in December, which we are also have a booth at over in Las Vegas. So if anybody really has been missing people, those are two great ways to get in person.
Fantastic. Yeah, I know that's a fun one. I've been to reInvent before, and that they put on a great show.
Yes.
So I know pumpkin spice lattes are out and stuff. So clearly that means we're approaching Q4, and you guys have some big releases coming out in Q4. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we typically do a sort of monthly big release of CloudTamer in terms of features, but this go around we sort of have skipped this coming months in favor of a much larger release in Q4. We've got some really exciting things across our whole organization, and of course, festering itself into the product itself that we're all here for. I can't share anything yet. We're about a few weeks early on that, but please take a look at all of our site, cloudtamer.io, our socials, and again, if you're visiting any of those trade shows, we'd love to meet you in person. But we're really excited about the launch, and hopefully maybe we can come back here to Technado after and talk about everything we're about to release.
All right, we've stopped recording, so if you want to tell us any of the things now, would be fine.
Good try.
All right, start the recording again. All right, fantastic. Well, we really want to thank you for taking the time, and if people want to find out more about the company, I assume they just go to cloudtamer.io. Otherwise, that would be a horrible name.
Yeah, that's the best thing about our name is that anytime you type it, it's a link.
Perfect. All right, Randy. Well, thank you so much for taking the time with us today. We really appreciate that.
Thanks so much. Great meeting y'all.
Yeah, definitely. And stay tuned, everybody. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, and we're going to look at the news from this week coming up on Technado with Don Pizzette.
So you've tried online IT training, but it's boring, out of date, and pricey. Well, ITProTV is always engaging, always fresh, and plans start at just $29 a month. It's online IT training that doesn't suck. Start today at itpro.tv.
All right, welcome back to Technado with Don Pizzette. Thank you so much to Randy Shore for joining us there, talking all about governance and CloudTamer and all of that great stuff. Really appreciate that. But we do have quite a bit of news to get to, so let's go ahead and jump right in with our first article, which comes to us from Microsoft.com. That's where I get all my news, actually. This is the passwordless future is here for your Microsoft account. So less news, more their own press release. But basically, Microsoft has been talking about passwordless for a long time, and how we're pulling this. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, but they're actually taking some good steps here. So what does this actually mean, though? Because obviously we got to authenticate somehow.
So you no longer use a password is what they're saying.
What do I use?
Is that what that really means? Passwordless, or less of a password.
Like
maybe you only need two characters.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
short.
two characters.
Yeah, you got to pick a number 1 through 10. That's your password.
Passwords.
Well, what's interesting is the guy that put this out is he's the corporate vice president of security and compliance. And so my thought was when I was looking at this, with all the using your phones, and they're all talking about multi-factor authentication, but they're actually saying that this is going to be just, the way of the future. They're pretty much saying you can use a password, but we're going to pretty much make it pretty difficult for you to do so. Am I reading this right?
Yeah, and I watched a little video here too, and everything they were showing seemed to be kind of like in a mobile environment that you're using either the touch or you're using the face. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, Microsoft has been pretty good with their devices as well in terms of their cameras having that. I mean, don't they have the face recognition?
Yeah. Hello, Microsoft.
Hello. Yeah.
Microsoft
Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm on a Mac, so you're not allowed to touch anything. Actually, I do have a fingerprint reader on my Mac. That's not fair.
I actually already have a passwordless Microsoft account.
Really?
Yeah, because I don't have a Microsoft account.
Okay. Daniel's so helpful on this article.
That's the way you fly right there.
But yeah, so basically it looks like at this point you can kind of go ahead and set this up. In this article that we'll put a link to down in the description, they give the actual steps. It's like 3 clicks to go through and enable this passwordlessness. That's a new word.
I just like the fact that it's the what do they use? 15% of people use their pets' names. And I think that number is low.
I think that number is low.
I think it's low. I think it's a little bit higher.
I would have thought it would have been more formulaic, the whole spring 2021 kind of password.
Yeah, they mention those ones too, which is interesting.
Moving.
I've never gone that route, but that seems pretty easy to reverse engineer too, because if it's spring 2021 for you, it's spring 2021 for me,
right?
As well.
And that's where you get into like credential stuffing or password spraying, where you're trying to like reuse commonly used passwords everywhere. So you're not hitting like if there's any kind of password policy that says lockout after X amount of bad tries, I don't have to hit that. So you never know I'm password attacking you.
Right.
And I'm probably going to get some hits.
See, my thing is, I go 10 years in the future.
Yeah.
So I'm on spring 2031.
There you go. You're a smart man.
But I thought this number was low too, Chris. It says 1 in 10 people admitted to reusing passwords. And
oh my gosh. Who would ever do that?
No.
Oh, you mean who would admit to it or who would do it?
Yeah. See, that's the thing is, I think they even said they were using Microsoft's Twitter account. Now that is a source of truth. I gotta tell you right there.
I don't know how many times I've had to turn off that notification in LastPass that yes, I know that's the same as my master password. God, get off my back. We're the ones paying you.
I've seen a T-shirt that says, "I changed your password. It was too short."
See, that's the kind of nice white hat hackers that we need. People are like, by the way, I updated.
They do exist, by the way.
Yeah.
People are out there like finding flaws and then fixing them and then sending an email going, I fixed your problem, by the way.
Yeah.
Don't send me to jail or try to come after me.
Exactly. Yeah, I know I could be criminally liable.
Well, then there's like the people out there like, how dare you fix our stuff?
Mm-hmm. It's not broken.
Your fingerprints are all over this. So we're going to find
prosecute you to the greatest extent of the law.
It's like, no, you won't. You don't even know how to make a password.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's move on to our next article. This one is from tomshardware.com. It says, actually, I can use a sound effect for this one because there is the first word in the headline is Toshiba's microwave-assisted 18-terabyte hard drives are ready for desktops and NAS. Toshiba's FCMAMR drives arrives for consumers. So, I'm sorry, when we say microwaves, they made the pun here with the ding. Are we talking about like it's going to heat up my computer and I can cook my ramen?
You get a burrito that's cold in the middle and hot on the outside.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it reflects off, so you can put your burrito next to your hard drive and,
So how are microwaves being used here?
Well, they're probably changing the magnetic aspects because I always say the word wrong. Coercivity. Am I saying that right? Coercivity, I think is what it is. It's the curvature where they're allowing the amount of data to be put in there. And I guess microwaves are really good at doing that. So
well, there you go.
So they're actually like passing data via microwaves within.
No. The formulation of the actual disks.
I got a question about this actually.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Does this just mean I can have a bigger hard drive in my computer?
I think so.
Okay.
Okay. It looks like.
Well, I mean, but
cool.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Big card.
Toshiba isn't the first one with the 18 gigs. Because I know Western has some and probably Seagate
Here's the thing. I can't afford an 18 gig hard drive, so I do not have one.
I have an 8 gig, and I'm pretty happy.
Are they the first to use this microwave technology?
I think they are, if I remember right. Looking
through the article, gigs. These are 18 terabytes, right?
Do we see?
Yeah, I think we say gigs. Yeah.
We're so used to saying that. Yeah. This says Toshiba is announcing the industry's first 18 terabyte drives featuring flux control microwave assisted magnetic recording. So there could be 17 terabyte drives featuring flux.
17 gigabyte drives.
Whatever.
With the flux capacitor.
Yeah, 17 terabyte. That's for idiots.
Yeah, forget about that. Yeah. Well, interestingly enough, though, I was looking at it. The speed though from terabyte outputs on that are still around 281 megabits per second, I think. And that's the one big thing about it, of course, with the larger drives, is you get that, you can store more, but you're not going to be running video off of this. You're not going to be running anything that needs that real quick access. But still, I mean, if you got to store a whole bunch of stuff.
So that's why.
If has any vulnerabilities, that'd be great.
So that's why, like I've noticed on certain like cameras and stuff, it would say don't use a card bigger than than 2 gigs or something like that, and that's for that reason, because it can't read and write to that card quick enough.
Yeah, and I think with this, and they're advertising it here in the article on for obviously desktop usage now in NASs, so that way if you've got an inexpensive little NAS next to you, you can pop these in. But I do know the interesting note is they haven't said how much they're going to cost.
$1 billion.
Yeah, money, lots
one of these
of money.
right here.
Yeah, not
but
cheap.
obviously these. I mean, they do say they're for desktop systems, but you're most likely building some high-end something or other if you're going to have something like this in there.
Yeah, and the cool thing is whenever we see something like this, it's price is crazy high, but the first one's got to come out, and then the competition comes around.
I'm legit, like, if I had a 2 terabyte drive in my laptop, I'd be like, oh, they have so much storage.
Yeah.
No, you got to do the old. I remember when I had 176 megabytes.
Oh, goodness.
That was big.
Couldn't even fill
huge.
that.
I mean, shoot, I'm pumped because I just got this new laptop maybe 3 weeks ago, and it's got 500 gigs as opposed to the 250 I had. And
you can't even hold the entire Napster library with something like that.
I'm trying.
Say Napster?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's good. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, all my Color Me Bad songs. Some other
next to your MySpace account.
Yeah, exactly. My friend Tom. All right, well, let's move on to our next article over at bleepingcomputer.com. And Daniel, I'm going to be leaning on you heavily here. New malware uses Windows Subsystem for Linux for stealthy attacks. And Daniel, I normally look to you for malware, and I normally look to you for Linux-related questions.
Okay.
This is 2 of those. So
Man,
what's going on here?
So like this was just a case of we didn't really think this through, did we? We weren't really sitting here. We were so hot and bothered about getting that Linux on our Windows systems. Bring all those wonderful Linux people over here, and
it's like Jeff Goldblum says, like, you didn't bother to think, should you?
Right.
Should you?
You were so messed up about whether or not you could. You forgot to think about whether or not you should.
Yeah.
That's
it's got a cute word, though. It's got a cute word. It's got elf. What we need that in Windows now.
Yeah.
So fun, right? They ported Linux into Windows via witchcraft, I guess, and then through that they forgot. Does Linux have its own like stuff that we're hooking into the Windows stuff? Yeah. Are you protecting against that? No. Should I? Well, I mean, we're kind of slapping them together here. Might be a good idea to do that. And obviously, like Windows Defender, why would it care about an ELF file, right? Why would it care about any kind of Linux binary? Because it's not Linux. Mm-hmm. And therefore, and honestly, it's funny. I've been doing this kind of thing for actually a while now, where if I'm working in a Windows system, I always install WSL so I can have Kali on there. And then if I want to play around with, hey, can I build something in Kali and then see if Windows will run it? I just do that. And oh, look, that's fun. I can do all sorts of things in WSL that I can't do in Windows, but it's connected through the Windows API. Yeah. Therefore, I can read into the file system. I can do all sorts of fun stuff. That's what's going on. They just basically programized it and made a little package that you install and run.
Wouldn't it be safe to say that anytime you're going to say, we're going to integrate something, that means that we're connected, which means that, guess what? You're passing information back and forth. Hello.
And
something could happen.
And it's not like this is something we've never done before, Yeah.
We
have plenty of systems that hook into the Windows API, or even malware that has traditionally been using the Windows API to connect and do things that it shouldn't do. And it's a great way to get around a lot of security, because it's kind of like, I trust the Windows API. It's nice. And you can get do some code signing and stuff like that for building malware so that it can bypass those things. And of course, there's other bypass techniques to get around this. But now you've just basically opened a big side door and said, well, we're not protecting this. It doesn't really care. It's funny. I can build something in Windows Subsystem for Linux, and then as soon as it touches like the Windows side of the disk, it's like, especially if it's Windows related and it's malware, it's like, oh, that's bad. But if I stay inside of that ecosystem, it's not going to care.
Yeah,
now they're saying that they're even using. I mean, I've read somewhere that they're using PowerShell, so it's almost like they're using Windows' own things that we're supposed to be worried about. But then, let's go ahead and use it.
You would say, hey, PowerShell, just download a file where that's not. I can't get in here. Malicious, right? Necessarily that you downloaded a file, right? And if it comes through some sort of CDN network, it came from Amazon, it came from this, it came from that. That's fine. Yeah, and it doesn't really care. And then if it then does something malicious after that, that's all in memory. So it's like fileless malware.
This makes me think of the old show Pimp My Ride, where basically Exhibit was like, oh, I see that you like operating systems, so I put Linux in your Windows. What? Yeah. And then from what I understand, after reading an article about that show like 10 years later,
like all those cars
most of those cars would just drive out of the thing and just explode because they're like, there's a fish tank, next to your
I used to
amplifier.
Watch that show quite a bit, and I would go, they're not actually doing anything to upgrade the car.
Yeah. They're making it
Just
unsellable.
adding stupid things to it.
Yeah, they're just killing the rooster about it. So that's basically happened here is what we're saying is that, we did a cool thing. Oh, man, look, you can put those together, but we didn't think about all of the implications that those things might have. So this is more reliable, I think, than a Pimp My Ride car still.
Yeah.
But something to be aware of if you use this.
Remember that scene in Happy Gilmore when he's got his little caddy and he's like, hey, I'm going to do it this, so, stop me if I'm going to do anything stupid. And he does something stupid. He's like, where were you on that one, dipshit? Like that. I feel like this is that scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because no one raised their hand in the back and went, what about?
Yeah. Excuse me, the infamous thing about what is the number one platform that the evil hacker dudes and dudettes use to accomplish their missions?
Let's bake that
Linux.
into.
Let's just bring it and attach it to something that has security holes wide enough to drive a truck through. That's going to be great. I love it.
Well, and it's not even necessarily like it becomes a security hole, right? It's,
right. No. Yeah,
you went from, okay, I've got this system on lockdown. I survey everything and I have it completely secure. And now I'm going to bring this in. And again, the machine then changes and it's like, well, are you looking for stuff in that? No. Why would I? I have this system. Because now that's a part of the system. So that
it's
wasn't,
legit.
It's the, right there. How do you put this? It becomes a security issue by the fact that they are married now, right? It wasn't when they're not. It is when they are.
They were better enemies than frenemies.
Is
that what you're saying?
It's called a virtual machine, everybody. Just run the stink. I mean, VirtualBox is free.
The sum is weaker than the whole of its part.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, we got to move on here, and this next article makes me very happy. Not just because it is a very interesting article, but it is from a listener who sent it in. So this is our listener mail for the week.
You've got mail.
And we did get mail from David Thompson, who sent this one over. And we're looking at an article here from ZDNet because they do a really good write-up on what he sent us. But the headline is Trust But Verify, an in-depth analysis of ExpressVPN's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad week. And it looks like there were two separate issues that individually were each pretty bad for ExpressVPN, and they both happen to happen in a very short period of time here. So let's go ahead and dive in and look at the two of them. And, Chris, hopefully you can kind of help me dissect this a little bit. But so the first one is there is a company that is making a bid to buy ExpressVPN that is Cape Technologies, but they've got a little bit of a shady past, right?
Yeah, well, like three of their top people have like shady pasts. They actually were they formerly worked with the United States cybersecurity stuff, and then the United Arab Emirates said, "Oh, come on over here, help us hack back in." And by the way, we'll pay you obviously lots of money, and that's why they did it. But they were caught, and I think the CIO was actually fined $1.6 million. So that's the first thing. So you got this guy who is like really powerful, actively involved in this in this company who's coming in and they're buying it out, ExpressVPN, and then you find out that, oh, hey, by the way, they are not only acquiring it, but ExpressVPN CIO is Daniel Garrett.
That's the second part.
Cape is that's the second part. The first part, that's right, it's the Israeli guy, and the other guys where they were doing ad injections, and that's how they made all their money to then go out and buy all the VPNs. So then, well, wait a minute, that makes a lot of sense, right, Daniel? Because then now that we know all the stuff that you're trying to hide, so you can inject, but now we know all that and we own it. Yeah, that starts to get you going. There might be something a little fishy here.
There was apparently this is almost tells like a Mickey Spillane novel or something. It's like follow the breadcrumbs and we're gonna go down this rabbit hole of dastard moves and so on and so forth of these people. It's like it honestly, the thing I came away from it thinking was these companies that are running these VPNs that these bad companies are absorbing. It's not like they don't know who they are. It's not like all this stuff isn't in the news and disclosures get done, and they know who these people are, and they sold to them anyway. What does that tell you about them?
Well, I mean, anytime you have Edward Snowden, who's no clean guy himself, I think they even use the term throwing rocks in glass houses, where he actually worked with some of these guys. They knew all about him, and so he's like intricately involved in some of the things that they did in the past, and he's all like, well, I wouldn't trust ExpressVPN. It's like, yeah, you think what's going on here? And what I find interesting, though, in reading in the article, is that this is something that ZDNet, the author, actually admits that, hey, I actually gave it a fairly decent review at one point because back then it was all right, but now I'm
backpedaling on that.
Yeah, I'm a little like, I love how he goes, well, I'm not going to say everything's horrible about this, but it's not that great.
Yeah, well, I don't want you to search my old article and say, hey.
Well, is it kind of like very similar to the problem we were just discussing about marrying two things together? The VPN software and technologies are probably state of the art and really, really good, but because it now becomes married to something that is a known bad, it now becomes bad.
Yeah,
it gets corrupted.
Well, and
you can't trust.
And Cape is actually a rebranding too.
Right.
They've changed their company name, which always tells you.
Yeah, it used to be murderforhire.com.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean they're trying to get away from some of that stink.
Right.
Same people.
Well,
same people.
Yeah. And I mean, and what they're saying is that, like ExpressVPN and some of these others, I mean, what they're doing is they actually run it through, when they're bouncing signals around stuff, they run through MLAT countries, which is, the CIA or NSA can always go, excuse me, we need access to that information.
That's like when Blackwater changed their name to fluffyteddybears.com.
Yeah. All right. Like, we can still get it from you.
Yeah.
Well, I think we should take the same approach as the author of this article, David Gerwertz, something like that, where we say, I'm not going to say don't use ExpressVPN, but I would read into this story if that's something that you use, because you can make that decision for yourself then based on the inferences that you get there. But it does read like a spy novel, as Daniel said. It's a really interesting
Russian
read.
VPNs. Yeah. I bet they're really good.
Yeah. Thank you so much to David for sending that in, and we will send you a T-shirt for doing that. And if you want to get a T-shirt as well, just send in an article you would like us to cover, and if we do, we'll send a T-shirt and a little sticker pack from Technado your way. So thank you for that. All right, well, we're going to do a quick little roundup here in this last segment, because we had so much ransomware news to get to this week that we couldn't pick which article. We're like, let's just do all three. Yep. So we're going for the trifecta, and so we'll kind of rapid fire through these. So let's start with the first one over at slashdot.org. Ransomware encrypts South Africa's entire Department of Justice network, and that, if I'm not correct, that's bad. And I feel like South Africa is like the old American Wild West.
I will say this though. They did actually continue in business continuity. They continued moving. They had a backup plan for when something like this happened, where they switched to manual stuff, and now they're recovering. And so they kind of gracefully at least from the article, it seems like they walked through this not unscathed, but it could have been a whole lot worse, and now they're finding themselves in a recovery phase. So kudos to them for at least having a backup plan, because it's too many times we hear, oh, well, I guess we're just going to...
so let all the criminals
Colonial
go.
pipeline.
Yeah, open the jails, because we don't have any records.
Okay. You
What are
gotta
we
go.
going to do?
Yeah. Did they pay in Krugerrands, though?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Gold coins.
Well, I think, that's, I mean, if anyone's watching this that is involved with the student loan industry, maybe take this as an idea. Go ahead and ransomware them. See what happens.
Ransomware them.
Isn't that what Ferris Bueller did? Or
essentially, yeah.
No, I'm sorry. War Games. War Games. That was changed.
Ferris Bueller changed his grades too.
Yeah.
That's true.
Matthew Broderick is like
that was the big thing.
hacker.
If you're in school, the one thing you want to do is slack off and still make all A's. So obviously, you're going to change your grades. I used to have kids come to me when I was in school and say, "Can you change my grade?" And I'm like,
no.
hack into this. I mean, your grade's already printed, moron. It's not like they would come with their report card. Can you change this?
That grade? Yeah. Should have seen me a week ago.
Yeah, like it's a little late for this, honestly.
All right. Well, speaking of a little late, the next article in the trifecta is from Bleeping Computer and REvil or REvil, because we've still not decided how we're going to pronounce that. Ransomware master decryptor released for past victims. Meaning, if you were hit by this ransomware and just said, you know what, I'm just going to wait this out, then now it's time to get back to work. The vacation is over because the master decryptor is out. So, you can get them files back. So congratulations on that. And how long has this been? What was this, a couple months?
A couple months.
Yeah.
Back in July, was
think
it?
So.
June or July?
I mean, is this typical for
June
any
or
kind
July?
of...
I can't remember.
Maybe late June, early July, we'll call it. Is this typical for most ransomware that eventually a master key is released, or is that not the case?
I've never got hit with ransomware. So.
Well, normally, I mean, it's like if we were hit by the same ransomware, we work at different companies, I'm going to get a different key than you,
Correct.
right? So it's not like I could just share
idea.
my key to you.
Sometimes that doesn't happen. So we saw, like, sometimes there is people that reuse stuff. It just comes from just any kind of coding, right?
Yeah.
You make mistakes. Even the bad guys make mistakes from time to time, and they reuse a key. If anybody gets that key, they can set it out there. What's interesting about this article, though, is that they say, we received the keys from a trusted law enforcement partner, and unfortunately, this is the only information we are at liberty to disclose right now.
And this is Bitdefender saying this because they're the ones that have the encryptor.
So it's like, so they either hacked REvil in some way, shape, or form, or they've got an insider in REvil that is...
Or there's a guy at REvil that has no more fingernails, and he's the guy.
That could be true. That could be true.
Yeah, the guy with two broken hands at the hacker meeting going.
Yeah, what
I
happened
don't
to
know.
you? Well,
I don't know what happened.
I fell down an elevator shaft onto some pliers.
Yeah, well, that's a shame. All right, well, let's look at several times, repeatedly. Yeah.
Just kept falling.
All right, let's look at the last in this trifecta of ransomware articles. This one's from the Wall Street Journal. The U.S. to target crypto ransomware payments with sanctions, because sanctions, they solve everything, if I've learned anything.
You're sanctioned.
Oh, damn it. So this basically means that if there are payment providers, I guess, like you can't sanction Bitcoin, but you can sanction the marketplaces that people use to buy and sell Bitcoin.
Feeders,
So if they see that those services have been used by these hackers, we can track them through their wallet ID, then they're going to get sanctioned. And we've actually seen the first one come out, because this article is from a few days ago. But today there's an article about the U.S. Treasury issuing the first ever sanctions against a crypto exchange for aiding ransomware attacks, and that is a Russian-owned but based in the Czech Republic company called Suex, S-U-E-X. So they are the first to receive these sanctions. So do you think this is a good move? Think this will help?
Interesting. So I'm reading a different article because I got paywalled by the Wall Street Journal on that article.
Yep.
And it says, these new sanctions and rules don't appear to be meant for the cryptocurrency payment industry writ large. Instead, they're supposed to target specific individuals, the journal says. with the hope of deterring others from having anything to do with ransomware.
I don't know how you do that, because isn't the whole point you don't know who those individuals are?
You can see that an exchange has been made, if I'm not mistaken, and like who made an exchange.
And you could tie that back if you knew that information.
Right. And you can say, you made an exchange, you've broken the law, I'm coming after you.
But if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, what we're seeing here is it's always an after the fact. So if I'm just using, let's say SUX here, or Coinbase or something like that, where you're doing it, how do they know that someone making a request for that money or transferring it is for a ransomware attack, or I'm borrowing, I'm buying Uncle Buddy's, old Volvo?
Like the only transactional history is like the wallets, who owns them, and what was transferred.
Well, that's what the memo line is for on the checks.
That's what.
With the memo line.
So make sure
checks,
you don't put ransomware when you do that.
Ransomware payment. August 2021.
I used to always mess with people with those, be like illicit photos and things, and like, I can't take this to the bank. They don't care. They're not looking at that. Illicit photos. That's not part of the process. All right. Well, if maybe we'll take a little bit more in-depth look at some of these next week. But that
extortion.
A lot going on in the ransomware game. So. Congratulations to all you out there that are involved in ransomware.
Gambino family.
Yeah, good for you guys. I don't think it's them. This doesn't sound like a very Russian
in other
or
words,
Nigerian name.
Good news is REvil's getting in the antivirus game. So
they now own ExpressVPN.
Yeah,
it looks like. So go and log on.
They bought out
that.
Kate.
They're they own 51% now.
Yeah, with that pipeline money.
All right, hey, want to let you know about a couple things coming up. Speaking of security, we've got a webinar that is taking place actually today, the day that this webinar or this podcast is released, on Thursday, September 23rd. Top 5 security risks of cloud computing: how to identify and avoid common cloud vulnerabilities. That's with Adam Gordon and you, right, Daniel?
That would be me.
Yeah. So that'll be taking place at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Don't worry if you are hearing this later than that. You can go ahead and go to ITPro.TV/webinars, and the same page you go to sign up for this ahead of time, you can use to see the archive of it, because it'll be up just in a couple of days after the webinar goes out. There's also one a little bit further down the road on October 7th, also a Thursday, protecting against mobile security threats in a bring your own device environment, understanding the current mobile threat landscape. And that's with, if you're a longtime Technado listener, Victoria Mosby, who is a mobile security expert. She'll be joining Mike Roderick for that one. Like I said, that's Thursday, October 7th. So head over to ITPro.TV/webinars and you can get the scoop on that. And while you're on that internet, head over to technado or technado.com if you're boring, and you can see the latest episodes. You can send us some viewer mail and get that t-shirt. And you can also click that big orange button in the corner that says sponsored by ITProTV. You can get 30% off the lifetime of your personal membership with a coupon code there. You can also request a team trial if you are part of a company and want to get ITProTV possibly for your entire team. You can do that there and find out all about the great features available for you guys from ITProTV. All right. Well, Chris, thank you so much for jumping in today. We really appreciate it. I know it's 4 a.m. or whatever in Arizona. I'm not sure how time.
Pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I'm rounding.
Halfway around the world, from Florida.
Yeah, it's far.
Yeah.
I know.
Arizona, Singapore.
Well, he's using ExpressVPN to actually log into this, so he could.
The only way to do it.
It's bouncing off all kinds of.
Cape is going. This is bad.
And Daniel, thank you as always.
You're welcome, sir.
All right. And thank you all for watching and listening, and we will see you next week right here on Technado with Don Pizzette.